we have this ascending dorsal column, okay, and we have this ascending lateral spinothalamic tract. I was telling you, where's my pen? Okay. So now you see, we have these two nucleuses. One is fasciculus gracilis, and the other one is fasciculus cutaneous. So you will be learning these two nucleus. One of them is responsible for the lower body and legs. The other one is responsible for the upper body and arms. Okay, so you can remember L from lower body, and cutaneous have a U with upper body. Okay, so you can see it also if I zoom this picture for you. You can see it, okay? You have this gracilis L for lower body and cutaneous U for the upper body, okay? And what is the location of this column? It is present at this region, okay? We have this sacral lumbar region, and we have this thoracic cervical region. So the sacral lumbar region has this fasciculus gracilis, and the thoracic cervical region have this fasciculus cutaneous. Okay, so it means that so now you can see your lower body and your legs, they got the innervation from your lumbar plexus and your sacral plexus, right? Your lower body, your lower limb got your innervation from sacral and lumbar plexus, and your upper limb has the innervation from your brachial plexus, which includes the cervical and the thoracic, Okay, for the people who joined now, uh, we are studying the signal transduction pathways uh, from the stimulus, from the sensory receptors to the level of cerebral sensory cortex. Okay, and I just told them the cerebral sensory cortex. So for the people who just joined, kind of a review for them, this is your central sulcus, okay, and the part which is present before the central sulcus is precentral gyrus, and that part is sensory. And behind the central sulcus is the part that is post, and that is motor. Okay, so we are studying only this part. And now I have taken them to the level of spinal cord so that I may tell them the two sensory tracts. One is dorsal column and the other one is spinothalamic tract. Okay, so now let me take you to here. This is your picture, and this is your dorsal column, this is your spinothalamic tract, okay, and this is sensory, but this is motor. So we will not be studying motor right now, we will only be studying these two things. So because we are studying the sensory system, okay, I don't wanna mix everything, so let's keep sensory and motor separate as it's given in BRS. So now if you can see this chart will explain everything that is written in your this BRS portion. Okay, we just have gone through this sensory receptors, okay, and we have just gone through that they are present at the specialized epithelial cells and present at the afferent neurons, for example olfactory chemoreceptors, and they transduce the stimulus into the leave this is the function. So these are their sensory receptor locations, that how they are present at which particular levels. So in your first aid, they have given it in more detail, like they have given the functions of it that I just told you. Okay, but right now just focus on the receptor thing. Okay, so now you see the if I'm talking about olfaction, that is, if I'm talking about the sensory receptor as an afferent nerve. Okay, so um, the nerve that is taking the signal of olfaction, okay, signal of olfaction to this spinal cord level, okay, that nerve is called the first order neuron. I have not read the detail yet. I'm just telling you the basic concept of what is a first order neuron. It takes the signals from these receptors, okay, from these receptors, these nerve endings. Remember this picture? These olfactory nerves, which are, here are the receptors present, okay? This is the mucosa, inner lining of your nasal cavity, okay? And this is your olfactory epithelium. These are your olfactory receptor neurons. So they are taking the signals from here to the level of spinal cord, to the level of spinal cord, okay? Now here, this is your dorsal horn, which is sensory, okay? There is a nerve that comes like this. They forms a ganglion, okay? Then another one unites. So this is sensory, this is motor. It enters from the anterior horn and it is leaving this from the posterior, okay? And this is a ganglion. So this is like one spinal cord segment. Another spinal cord segment again has this kind of a thing, and it also has a ganglion. Then another ganglion with another spinal cord, another ganglion with another spinal cord, and these ganglions are connected together. They form a chain. We call these ganglions sensory ganglions, okay? We call these ganglions sensory ganglions, or we call these ganglions dorsal root ganglion. Why they are called dorsal root ganglion? Because this is the dorsal horn, posterior horn of your spinal cord. Okay, so the sensory nerve is arising from here, and this is your ganglion. Okay, so these ganglions can also be called dorsal root ganglion. These ganglions are also called sensory ganglions. These ganglions can also be called paravertebral chain of ganglion or autonomic ganglion. There are a lot of names for these ganglions. Okay, so just remember these different names of this. Now let's see this, what they have written, that this is the first order neuron, and these are the sensory nerve endings, okay, that are the signals, the stimulus is traveling from these sensory nerve endings. This is, I'm using this picture and again for just an example, okay? So these are the sensory nerve endings, okay? And the stimulus is passing, it is bypassing pseudounipolar cell body. This is a type of, neuronal cell bodies. We have unipolar, we have pseudounipolar, we have bipolar, we have multipolar. So these are like on the basis of the structure, okay? So just take it as a right now a neuron, okay? So it bypasses that cell body of the neuron in the dorsal root ganglion. Here. This one. Now you're getting, so now just say for example, this is your olfactory, this is your olfactory epithelium. Okay, and these are your olfactory nerves, and these are your olfactory receptors present that are receiving the signals, and then they unite together, form an olfactory bulb, and then olfactory nerves separately form a tract, and that tract is taking signals to this sensory ganglion. And from here, these signals are traveling into the spinal cord segment, and this is your dorsal horn. Into this dorsal horn, they are reaching here, and then from your spinal cord, this from your tracts, okay, it is reaching high up into your brain to your olfactory center, and then the response will come back via your motor, okay, and then you will be like able to recognize what smell is that. So, and this whole process uh, is occurring in like milliseconds, microseconds, maybe not even microseconds, very fast. This is an electrical impulses of the brain. Okay, so let's go back to your book. First order neuron are the primary afferent neurons. Again, now you're clear with the word afferent. I don't need to like explain you again and again what is an afferent. Okay, so they are afferent neurons that receive the transduced signal. Okay, just think of your olfactory receptors and the nerves. Okay, so we are done with the receptor thing. Okay, now we are way ahead to these nerves, your first order nerves. They are receiving the signals that receptor get. Okay, so they receive the transduced signals. The signals are transduced from this receptor. What was the function of sensory receptors? That they were transducing the stimulus into electrical energy, and that electrical energy is traveling via these nerves. So now we are on first order neuron. Okay, and they send the information to the central nervous system. I just told you how. Okay, cell bodies of the primary afferent neurons are in dorsal root or spinal cord ganglia. Now you understand. If I would have read this before showing you those pictures, you would not be able to understand what are we talking about, because this book lacked pictures. Okay, so we are reached at this dorsal level, at this dorsal root ganglion. Okay, here there is a synapse. If I want to show you, wait a second, people. Okay, let me clear this all. You see, this is the picture. This is your ganglion that I was talking about. This is your posterior column, your dorsal horn. This is your sensory nerve, okay, and this is your motor nerve. Okay, just look at this section, because this section is somatic nervous system. This is somatic nervous system, and this is your autonomic nervous system. So we are studying autonomic. We are not studying somatic. So don't look at this side. We just look at this side. Okay. This is your this is a differentiating picture. Okay. So it's not like this. We have this part and same part over here, but they have just made this picture just to make a comparison. I may show it like this to you now. Okay. So just see this part. Now, this is your sensory root ganglion, and just say for example, this is your sensory nerve, olfactory nerve, okay? This is your olfactory nerve. The signals are transduced from your olfactory receptors to this first order neuron. This is your first order neuron, okay? This is your first order neuron that are giving these signals to the sensory ganglion. Here, if you see it closely, if you see it a bit more closely to this ganglion, do you see this synapse? This is a synapse, okay? This blue color line is synapsing with this red color, you know, this little thing. I may use another color, let's say black, or not black, let's say pink. This, just focus on this little area. This is this this is the cell body of the neuron, which is synapsing with the dendrite of motor one. This is a synapse, the synapse present inside the sensory ganglion. So now we will be studying the synapse, okay? The synapse. So hold on to this thought for here. Let's go back to your book, okay? So you are clear with this first order part, are you people? So everyone who is listening to me, please respond. I may know you are clear because I know this is complex and this is hard. We'll not rush onto the lecture. I want you to understand this. Do you understood what are first order neurons? Because if you will not study this thing right here, you will not be able to understand the rest of the lecture. Like the somatosensory system is complex, so you should know the basic of it first. So shall I proceed further? Okay, very good, very good. Okay, very good. I'm glad. Now, okay, very good, very good. Let's move further then. Now you understood what is a first order neuron, okay? And we are reaching from the receptors to the dorsal root ganglia, and in the dorsal root ganglia we have a synapse. We have a synapse. So this is a synapse. This is a sensory nerve and this is the motor nerve, and they are forming a synapse. Okay, after this synapse we have a second order neuron. Okay, so let's read what is a second order neuron before reading the synapse so that you may understand. The second order neuron are located in the spinal cord or brainstem. Now we are at the level of spinal cord. We are at the level of this spinal cord. Okay, this butterfly shaped structure. We are at the level of this spinal cord. Okay, these second order neurons receive information from one or more primary afferent neurons, like the neurons, these first order neurons they are talking about. They receive information from these primary afferent neurons, okay, and in the relay nuclei. Now, this is the terminology we need to understand. In relay nuclei and transmit it to the thalamus. So we have in our brain, this is a spinal cord level. In our brain, we have in our forebrain, we have a structure which we call diencephalon, okay, or we call limbic system. At that particular level, we have a hypothalamus, and there are two thalamus present alongside each other. We all know a hypothalamus because we all know pituitary gland too. So the pituitary gland is connected to this hypothalamus, and in the side of that hypothalamus we have these two bodies which are called thalamus. Okay, so I will take you to that picture too. So at in these thalamus the second order neurons are transmitting their signals to. So the pathway is they receive the signals from first order neuron, okay, then there is a synapse in the present in the sensory ganglia, okay, and then from the first order neurons the signals are going to this spinal cord level to the relay nuclei. These relay nuclei are present in the spinal cord, and from these relay nuclei the signals are going to the thalamus, okay, the signals are going to this thalamus. This is the pathway. Now we will study this pathway in from your first aid book. Okay, so you understand this terminology, that for what first order neurons are doing, they reach this dorsal root ganglion, then they will enter the spinal cord, then they will ascend ipsilaterally in dorsal columns. This is very good. You should understand this thing. Ascend ipsilaterally. Ipsilaterally means from one side, okay. If I'll show you that picture, ipsilaterally means one side, not going to the other side of the spinal cord, only from the one side. That we call ipsilaterally, okay. So all this pathway which I'm drawing from this pink color, this all is the work of first order neuron. And from here, we are going to this brain, to the thalamus. From here, the signals are going to the thalamus. This is the work of second order neuron, okay? Now, the relay nuclei. In your book, they have not given the names of those relay nuclei because they are telling you the basics in the book, okay? You will study these nuclei when you will be studying somatosensory system. Again, you will see these words in your BRS too. But I am explaining you like together, okay? So that you may understand. Now, nucleus gracilis, nucleus cutaneous, okay? Both of these are present at the level of your spinal cord. They are not present in the ganglia. This is not a synapse of the ganglia. We don't have a nucleus in the ganglia. The ganglia has just, it receives one neuron, and from there another one goes to your spinal cord, dorsal horn, okay. So this all is number one. And then in your spinal cord we have these nucleuses. Let me show you in the picture. Now you are studying dorsal column, okay, and you have these two nucleuses, nucleus gracilis and nucleus cutaneous. We call them fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cutaneous. These two are the nucleus, okay. The position of fasciculus gracilis is this. This is fasciculus gracilis, okay. It involves the sacral and lumbar. That is, it is responsible for the innervation of lower limb, okay. And then this one, this light blue color one, this is fasciculus cutaneous. It is thoracic and cervical. So it is thoracic and cervical. So it is innervating your upper limb. Okay, so these are the nucleuses that are present in your posterior commissure near your dorsal column. Okay, and from these nucleuses, there are tracts that are going up to your thalamus. That tract is called dorsal column, ascending tract of the dorsal column. Okay, are you clear? So the word you see here, relay nuclei. So if I take the example of a dorsal column tract, a sensory dorsal column tract, I am talking about two nuclei that are nucleus gracilis or fasciculus gracilis and nucleus cutaneous or fasciculus cutaneous. Okay, and they are responsible for the sensory innervation of your upper and lower limb, not the sensory, not the motor innervation, not the movement of your muscles. Keep these things in mind. We are studying sensory, so they are only responsible for the sensory things. For example, if you touch your upper limb or lower limb, the sensation of your touch, the vibration sensation, the pressure sensation, the position sensation, all these things are sensory, okay? But the movement, the movement you're performing from your muscles are motor. So this dorsal column only deals with these things: pressure, vibration, fine touch, and proprioception, not with the voluntary movement, okay? Remember this thing. So we have studied the first order neuron, the relay nuclei, okay, and the second order neuron in a dorsal column. If we talk about the spinothalamic tract, you see the relay nuclei is different. It is ipsilateral gray matter. So we have different nuclei for different tracts. I am just giving you an example to explain you what is written in your this little portion they have written. What do we mean by this? Okay, so let's move to the next line, which is exons of second order neuron may cross the midline. Now this is also important, okay? You will see a word repeatedly being used that is called decussation. Decussation, okay? SS, your first aid might have this word written, decussation, okay? Decussation means this is one tract, this is one tract. At the level of your spinal cord, just say for example, this is your spinal cord, okay? They crosses each other and then they travel contralaterally. So this crossing over is called decussation, or you can say they crosses the midline in the relay nucleus. So ये तो मैंने ऐसे ही बनाया है. Let me draw this thing in this picture. So we are talking about these two relay nucleus, okay? So the nerve fibers that are reaching, for example, this nucleus, okay? The nerve fiber that is reaching this nucleus, okay, will decussate contralaterally. You're getting my point? Decussation, that is crossing the midline. And the nerve fiber that reaches at this level, okay, at this region, will decussate this from the midline. So it's like not drawn so properly. So let me draw this one again. So this decussation that is going on is called movement contralaterally, or we can say it is crossing the midline. If we see the terminology of your this book, they are saying that it crosses the midline, so that means they are decussating, okay? Exons of the second order neuron may cross the midline in a relay nucleus in the spinal cord before they ascend to the thalamus. So before going to the brain, to the thalamus, they have to cross each other, okay? So that is why you see when a person has, just say for example, if a person has a stroke, or if a person has yes, let's take an example of a stroke. If a person is having stroke, he will if his right side of the brain is affected, he will see uh, the problem on the right side of face, but he will see problem in the left side of the limbs, okay? Do you understand? Because of decussation. If a person is not having sensation in his leg or in his arm, if a person is not having a sensation of warmth, pressure, pain, or anything in upper limb or lower limb, it means if it is left side, the problem is in right side. Okay, if it is left side, the problem is in right side of brain. If it is right side, the problem is in left side of the brain because of the decussation. Okay. Therefore, sensory information originating on one side of the body ascends to the contralateral thalamus. So the right side of your upper limb and your lower limb, the problems are dealt by the thalamus of your left side. And the left side problems of upper limb and lower limb, those problems are dealt by the thalamus of the right side because of the decussation. And where this decussation is taking place, at the level of spinal cord, at the level of those particular relay nuclei. For example, if you're talking about the sensations of pain, vibration, pressure, and proprioception, we are talking about the relay nuclei present in the spinal cord at these two levels, which were fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cutaneous. You're getting my point. So let's move back to this chart. So second order neuron decussates in the medulla, okay, ascends contralaterally as the medial lemniscus. So just forget this medial lemniscus. This is another higher level, and I will tell you when we will be studying that hindbrain. Okay. So for now, you have to understand what a second order neuron is doing. Okay. And now this is like one tract, dorsal column. Then we have another tract, the spinothalamic tract, which is responsible for pain, temperature. We have two, lateral spinothalamic tract and anterior spinothalamic tract. So the lateral one is for pain and temperature, the anterior one is for crude touch and pressure. Okay, so I have like shown you this over here. So this lateral one is for pain and temperature. The anterior one is for crude touch and pressure. So this is the lateral and this is the anterior. Okay, these are all, this is also sensory. Okay. So their first order neuron that is taking the signals from the sensory receptors, okay, from the sensory nerve endings, bypasses pseudo-unipolar cell body in dorsal root ganglion again. So you need to remember their pathway is just from sensory receptor to the dorsal root ganglion. That's it. Okay, and then they are just entering the spinal cord to the relay nucleus. That's it. Then from the spinal cord to the brain, okay, the thalamus, that is the function of second order neuron. Okay, so now you see there is the nucleus, that the synapse, the relay nucleus of this spinothalamic tract is just one-sided, ipsilateral, one-sided gray matter. Okay, and the second order neuron is then again decussating in the spinal cord as the anterior white commissure. So if you remember, I told you that we have two commissures. This is the anterior commissure and this is the posterior commissure, and they say anterior white commissure because all this butterfly shaped part is gray and the rest of the part is white. Okay, so now let me tell you one more concept. You know why it is gray and why it is white? Even in your brain, also in your spinal cord, you have a gray matter and a white matter. The gray matter is gray because it does not have myelin. The white matter is white because it has myelin. So if I say it does not have myelin, I mean the gray matter is composed of all the cell bodies of neuron, the soma. Okay, all the soma and all its exons, all the exons of these neuron are white matter. So this portion becomes gray and this portion becomes white. Then they will give dendrites. Okay. Then again a cell body of another neuron. Then they will give exons. So again, this portion will be gray and this portion will be white. Axon has myelin sheath. So white matter is composed of axons and gray matter is composed of all the cell bodies. Okay, in your spinal cord and also in your brain. So here are so many cell bodies. These are cell bodies, cell bodies, cell bodies, cell bodies. And here we have axon, 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 all over the white matter. Okay. So the spinothalamic tract decussates in spinal cord as the anterior white commissure, okay, and then it again ascends contralaterally because it is decussating. Now the point I want to show you is, you see this VPL, this is ventroposterolateral. We have the thalamus has so many parts, okay. So let me take you to another chart in this book. This chart, see this chart, if you can see this chart, ventroposterolateral nucleus, okay. We have a ventroposteromedial, we have VPL, we have VPM, we have lateral geniculate body which has a lateral geniculate nucleus, we have a medial geniculate body with a medial geniculate nucleus, and we have a ventral lateral nucleus. I'll show you the picture of thalamus in detail in the next lecture, okay. We will continue from here. So the VPL is, it has this sensory input, okay. So you see the spinothalamic tract and dorsal columns tract. So both of these, this nucleus of thalamus get the input from these signals, and again for vibration, pain, pressure, proprioception, light, touch, and temperature. So I just wanted to show you this thing so that you may completely understand this pathway, which is very important and will be, our next lecture will continue from here on physiology. So both of these ascending tracts send the signals to this VPL, ventroposterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, okay, which we call sensory cortex. So now if I take you back to this textbook, we are left with third order neuron and fourth order neuron. So let me read this also. Okay. The third order neuron are located in the relay nuclei of the thalamus. Now they reach the thalamus. Up till here, we were reaching the thalamus, okay? But when we are talking about third order neuron, we are already in the brain. Now we are in the brain, okay? We are in the thalamus. From there, encoded sensory information ascends to the cerebral cortex. So from the thalamus, we are in the thalamus now, and from the thalamus the information is going to the cerebral cortex. So if you remember, I showed you these two parts. One is sensory, one is motor. So this sensory region of your brain, the precentral gyrus and this somatosensory area, from the thalamus the information reaches here. So I showed you that picture of homonucleus, okay? So at that level, the information is reaching. And what a fourth order neuron is doing, they are located in the appropriate sensory area of the cerebral cortex. Now, when we were talking about third, we were in the thalamus and we were going from the thalamus to the cerebral cortex. But the fourth order neuron, they are located inside the cerebral cortex. Now we are high up in the brain, okay? Now we are high up at this region of your brain, which is sensory, okay? The information results in conscious perception of the stimulus. Now the information that is received at this region of your brain will give signals to the descending tract, okay, which are present here on the motor side, and they will take signals down to the spinal cord and then to the effector organs. So that is motor system, like, but for the sensory system, this was our last step to the cerebral cortex, okay? So we have read the from this book. So tomorrow we will be studying somatosensory system properly, and we will be you will be I will be just reading these two because I've just explained you all these nucleus and all these pathways. Okay, so we will be talking about the functions, and tomorrow's main lecture will be on thalamus. Okay, will be on thalamus. I will show you how it works. You see, now there comes the sensory homonucleus, how pain fibers, how fast pain and so slow pain goes, what are the fibers and everything. So that is like now deep neurophysiology. So but it was very important for you to understand a basic of how these first order, second order neuron work, and they have like not shown third order neuron from here. Okay, from this thalamus to the sensory cortex, third neuron takes place, and in this sensory cortex we have fourth order neuron. Okay, people, so this was our today's class, and inshallah ta'ala we will be uh, studying tomorrow a lot more detail of this homonucleus, and we will be studying lot more detail of thalamus. So don't miss, yes, tomorrow's lecture, and I will be finishing my lecture now of neurophysiology. The next class will be probably of either biochemistry or pharmacology. Let's see. And we will start our class at